Hey everyone, I'm working on a thing, was hoping to get your feedback and thoughts. Let's jump right in. So, in my side project work and in my day to day work, I find myself documenting artboards and flows by doing something like this. I'll add a title for a flow, then I might have a separate text layer for each artboard. So, this is a library view in Apple Music. In this notes, I might talk about how it should work, how people get here, the state it's in, whether the person is an existing user, whether they're on a paid account, anything like that, and add notes that relate to this artboard. Then I can slice it, export this slice as an image, and send that to engineers or stakeholders or whoever needs it. It's pretty simple, but the problem is as I multiply the number of artboards I'm building, the number of flows I'm working in, the number of projects I'm working on, it becomes really hard to keep this up to date. So as layers change, I have to update the documentation, which means I have to export a new slice, which means uh, lots and lots of files being sent back and forth between engineers and designers. It becomes really hard to keep track of what's changed, what things were like at a certain state, comparing the notes to the layers, etc. So I know there's a lot of people out there building tools to make this better, but I just want something really simple for documenting flows and artboards. So there's a plugin I'm working on called Create Documentation. I'm going to run it. What it does is it exports this screen to a folder. In the real world, that folder would be synced to a server, so I can go to my web app here and it would automatically populate. But for now, I need to call it in manually. So I'm going to click Get Latest Artboards, and here's my screen. Great, so now I can start documenting this particular flow. So I'll call this Browsing Library in Apple Music. I can add some notes about this flow, and then I can add notes about this particular screen. So this is the base library view. And again, I can add lots of notes about color or the state it's in or how people get here, the way people should use it, how animation should work, etc. Now, of course, one artboard is not a design, so let's grab three. Imagine this is a more complete flow. I can run that plugin one more time. I'll create my documentation, hop back over to my web app, get the latest artboards. Great. Here's my work. I can add some notes about browsing. I can add some notes about listening. And since this is all on the web, I can send this exact URL to anyone else on my team. They can go here and see all the same data. They can add their own notes, and we're in sync. Of course, if I make changes over time, I can go back to my sketch file and say this is now a feed view. I can save that, run my documentation plugin one more time, hop back over to the web, refresh, and I see my layer change, so I can update my documentation. And anyone that goes to this URL is going to see that. Now, the thing I'm most excited about this particular project is that this entire view is made up of one JavaScript object. So if I hop back over to the sidebar, I have exposed this JavaScript object here, so I can see my title, my description of this flow, and for each of the artboards, I have a file name, some notes about it. And since it's just a JavaScript object, it means we can write to it from anywhere that's connected to the internet. So you could have APIs that plug into adding notes, extracting notes, or I can just come in here and type manual. Let's say this is version 2.0. I can type it into this JavaScript object. It updates the view in real time. I can copy and paste this and send it to an engineer. We can put it into another tool that outputs anything we want. So what that means is we can track changes over time. We can diff this object for changes, who made them, what notes changed, what screens changed, etc. It's pretty simple, um, but I think it helps with documenting screens, flows, and sharing that with people on your team. So that's the demo. Let me know what you think. I'd love your feedback. Honest feedback is the best. Whether you'd use this, if something like this seems helpful, it's something that's been on my mind as something that might be useful to build and use in my day-to-day work. So hit me up on Twitter. Uh, Thanks so much for watching. Looking forward to your feedback.